Ooh, that looks tasty.
Alright everyone, it is of the utmost importance that we act quickly and decisively and get Kimber where she needs to go to fulfill the prophecy and save Dawnshade. But first, there's a really cool robot battle competition going on over there. So, here's of the utmost importance that we win the robot battle competition, and then get Kimber where she needs to go. Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another Kickstarter preview. And today we are talking about Dawnshade from Highborn Games, designed by Ty Vance and Jet Riker. Now, before I begin, I do need to note that everything you're seeing in front of you is still in the prototype phase. It may change, and some of the gameplay may also be altered. Also, please turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make a mistake, that is where you will find the corrections. Now, Dawnshade is a cooperative adventure game that is based on the JRPG genre of video games. This is in many ways an attempt to recreate that feeling in a board game setting. In the game, your kinship, or your party of heroes, are going to be traveling around trying to, well, save the world, like you do, and you'll be doing it through 3 separate chapters. You'll play through the game once, which is basically an easy level, then you will have been leveling up, and then you will continue through the story again with a different map, but the same basic idea, and then you'll do that 3 times, and at the end of that you'll face the final boss of the campaign, and hopefully you come out victorious. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played, you're going to want to jump ahead. If you're not interested in how this game is played and you just want to know what my final thoughts are, then you want to jump ahead to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, I'm going to give you a very, very quick rundown of how this game is played, and that is because I also have a how to play series that I did for Highborn Games, and if you are interested in the details, you can check that out. There is a link to that in the description of this video. So what you're going to have every single time you play is you'll have this mat up here. This is the Vaki mat, which is where you'll track the growing threat, your party's level. You are always the same level, everyone in your party, and your party's XP. Every time you get 10 XP, you gain a level and a single training point, which you'll be able to upgrade your characters with. Around the mat, there are symbols for the 6 different watchers and the mana, or Vaki, that they're able to provide different heroes as you're playing the game. You'll see that they're broken down into tier 1s and tier 2s. In addition to that, over here we have the quest map. This is the equivalent of the overland map that you would have when you're playing a Final Fantasy type game, as you are kind of wandering around waiting for something to happen, or find a village to go into, or fight a random monster, or whatever it may be. And over here we have our specific battle mat. Down here I have a single character mat all set up, which is your hero chip, whatever health they happen to have. I have the active player token there, and you have your 3 cogbots, which I'll talk about a little bit later. In addition, you'll see all the different stats, which I have tracked with these dials here. Around here, this is where you place the Vaki as you get it during combat, and down here, this is where you track your overdrive meter, which is a super powerful attack that you earn in combat, and every time you miss, this goes up until you get a super powerful attack or ability. Each of your 3 chapters that you play through will always start in a starting village. And when you start, you'll go to the logbook here and find your starting village, and then you'll read the story, and it will tell you what kind of supplies you start with, what kind of rewards you get before you head off on your adventure. The bulk of the adventure is done with this randomly created deck of quest tiles. And in here there is a single battle tile, 2 event tiles, 2 outposts, 2 journeys, a Watcher's Temple, and a major threat. And what you will do on your turn is you'll decide where you would like to go. I will say you are always able to go back to any village that you have already visited at any time. You'll take the top card, tile, you'll flip it over, and then you connect it to the tile that your kinship is on. You'll notice that there is a path, and your path always must connect to a path leading off of the tile that you are on. Then you move your kinship there, and however many tiles that you moved, you increase your threat level by that many. So in this case, I moved 1, my threat would increase by 1. Your threat is your timer on the game. When the threat runs out, then if you have not already drawn the major threat tile, you now must draw it and you must face it. Each of the tiles that you go to does something different. The event tile coordinates with a specific story event in the logbook. And again, you take it, you read the story, and you'll be presented with a choice. At the end of that choice, most of the time you will wind up having some kind of test to do based on your stats, and then a success or a failure condition. Either way, you will get a reward of some kind. Additionally, you might come across a battle tile. If you come across a battle tile, again, you go to the logbook, and you find what level you are, and then you read the scenario for the battle that you are about to embark upon. And again, it often has some choices that you can make and a skill test of some sort which can give you a bonus or a penalty as you go into the fight. There are also, as I've already said, a Watcher's Temple. You go there, and then depending on which of the Watchers you are most aligned with, you can get a benefit or a penalty of some sort, and I'm not going to go into the details of that there. Other than I will say that at the end of each battle, whatever Vaki you have left over on your character mat, you then use to up your influence with each of these various Watchers. And whichever one is the highest up, you have the most influence with, that is the one that you are currently aligned with. If you have the exact same level on all of them, you are balanced. And if you have 2 or more, but not all of them, that are at the same higher level, then you are unaligned. All of the outposts that you can go to do a variety of things. They might allow you to purchase items based on the chapter that you are in. They might allow you to gamble in some way to make yourself more money, which again you can use to buy items. They might give you all kinds of challenges of things that you are trying to do. And a large portion of the game is then actually done with various dexterity games. In these dexterity games, you wind up using the cogbots that you have on your mat. Sometimes you are trying to roll them across this battle mat and get them through a labyrinth of chips that are out there. If you get it all the way through, you have succeeded. If you don't, you have failed. You might be taking them and sliding them across the board, trying to get them to stop in a certain spot, again, trying to avoid chips that are out there. You might even be stacking up your chips in a big stack here and flipping them onto the board like that, trying to get them to land on something or near something. You might be taking your chips like a coin and flipping them like a quarter, trying to get them to land in a certain spot. Or you even might be taking them and spinning them and trying to get yours to last longer than someone else's. You get the idea. There's a whole bunch of things. Again, check out the How to Play video if you want to see that in more detail. The last thing I need to quickly explain is roughly how combat works. When you are led to combat, and you know that in the logbook, what you wind up doing is you place out whatever it is that you are facing. In this case, we have this Aluwada Bowmaster. I would look on the back, I see it has 9 hit points and 3 shields. And so I would take my 9 hit points, put it underneath him there, and then I would take my 3 shields and put those underneath that. Now, as he takes damage, I'll be drawing from the bottom of the stack at a 1-to-1 rate. The next thing that I would do is I would, for every one of these locations that is occupied by an enemy, I'll be taking the coordinating chip and I'll be dropping it into the initiative bag, which is this right here. Then for every character that is in the game, I'll be taking one of these ally chips and dropping it in the bag. For each round of combat, and I will note there are only 5 rounds of combat, you shake up the bag, and for every player character there is, you draw 1 chip out of the bag. So I've drawn the hero chip, so my hero would get to act. Had I drawn the foe chip, the foe would get to act. After they've acted, you move over here. When this stack is empty, you move down the round, and when you get all the way down and you finish this round, combat is over, whether everyone has been knocked out or not. You'll see it says Ultimate here. On that round, the first time an enemy acts in that round, they get to activate their ultimate ability, which is notated here on their chip and again in the logbook. Combat is done fairly simply when you actually get into the fight itself. First thing I need to note is that this is not a tactical mat. Think of this again like a JRPG video game where you have your heroes here and the enemies over there, and it doesn't matter where they are, if your attack is range, if your attack is magic, you can hit everything that is out there at your pleasure. What you do is you look at your agility stat. This tells you how many dice you are able to roll. Then, based on your other stats here, this tells you how many of each type of die you are able to roll. For example, I can roll 1 attack die, 1 devotion die, and 1 defense die. Those are these 3 here. Attack clearly does damage, defense gives you shields, and devotion earns you Vaki. So I would roll my dice, like so, and you're looking for pips on the die. I apologize, that is a boom die, that is not the attack die. The attack die has a sword on it. So I have 1 success from my Vaki, and 2 success from my attack, and no success for my defense. Since I had no pips on my defensive die, I would mark up here 1 miss as I'm charging up my overdrive. These 2 pips would mean I would remove the bottom 2 chips from my target, like so. And this single success on the Vaki die means I can pick any of the tier 1 Vaki chips from up there and place it on my mat. So perhaps I take the red one. If I want a tier 2, I have to combine Vaki. So I would have to have a single red and a single yellow. I could trade both of those in to get an orange or a mountain Vaki. You use those to activate your abilities. As you play through the game, you use your skill points that you earn to unlock dice. When you've unlocked a die, it goes on your mat and it becomes something that you're able to use. So if I had 2 sun and 1 water Vaki, on my mat here, I could turn them in and that would allow me to roll this die with my agility. And each one has an ability written on there, and also with that almost always goes some kind of condition. To mark a condition, you simply take a condition chip, whether it is negative or positive, and you place it on top of the enemy or ally stack. After everyone is activated, you pick up the chips and you drop them back into the bag and you do it again. The only thing that I do also need to make sure I point out is that there is this symbol, division symbol, on the defense die. When that is rolled, you are able to take whatever chip is below the active chip in the stack, throw it in the bag, and draw a new one. It's called a reformation. And on the attack die, there's this little star, which means you activate your special ability or the enemy's special ability. And again, when the combat is over, you find out what the rewards are. The last thing that I will explain are the skill checks, because I've already mentioned those briefly. Almost every single event that you have results in some kind of skill check, and that is what these numbers around the battle mat are for. So if I had a check where I'm trying to get 2 times the number of hits as my attack stat, well, I'm able to roll all my attack dice. In my case, that is 1, as you can see right there. If I was trying to get twice as many hits as my attack stat, I would look here into my attack stat as 1, which means I can roll 1 attack die. To do that, I'll be rolling it here on the mat. Now, on the surface, that would seem like I have to roll this single face to get 2, because 2 times 1 in my solo setup here would be the success. However, you have these numbers. So what you do is you roll from the side. If it rolls off, you do it again. And you try to get it in a zone that will give you a bonus. Here, I got my 2, but I'm in a -1 zone. Had I been here, I would have 2. Here I have 1. Here I would have 3. Here I would have 4. And here I would have 1. And those are how the skill check works, and you roll different dice and use different stats for those. Once you have either advanced your threat far enough or drawn all the cards out of the quest deck, you meet the major threat for that chapter. That is the final boss for that portion of the game. And it will have its own special story and event and setup based on whatever level you are at the time. If you succeed or fail, you get various rewards, and you continue. So that is the very fast overview of how this game works. Again, there is a lot more to it, but you can check out the How to Play series if you're interested in all of that. So what do I like about this game? First off, I really do feel like they've come pretty close to nailing the JRPG theme. As you work around over here, it feels like you're wandering around, you're doing all these different things, and then suddenly, boom, you hit something, the screen crumbles, and now you're over here. You're over here, and you're fighting something, and again, you're just kind of lined up, and you use your imagination to imagine what your character's doing, and you use the abilities, and it even tells you right up here, it gives you the fluff of this moment where you pause and you take a breath and you fire your weapon, or sometimes you're flying over the top and it says you're dropping bombs on everything. And there's all kinds of things that, again, are very JRPG thematic. And I really enjoy that. I really have been enjoying the writing of the story here. I think if you go through this logbook, it is just stunning, some of the images that are in here. And it's a massive, massive undertaking. Again, this is just a prototype. I also really like that the bulk of the game is not combat. This is not really a combat game. You will spend more time doing the various dexterity challenges of rolling or flipping or flicking or sliding, or trying to get your dice to stop on the exact right place, rather than doing combat. Throughout an entire trilogy, you're going to wind up having 6 battles. Or 12 battles if you're doing it on the slow mode, which sees you go through 6 different chapters. And that's it. Far more, you're going to be doing all these other little challenges, which I think is good fun. They're all very different, and they're all challenging in their own way, and I'm actually not very good at it, but I do find it fun. I also would be remiss if I didn't say that the quality of these components is very, very good overall. These chips are wonderful, these dice are wonderful, and I know what some of you are probably thinking. You're thinking, well, is this like Too Many Bones? And my answer to that is, if you're looking at it and you're saying stacking chips and really nice dice, yes, it's like Too Many Bones. That is it. This game is nothing like Too Many Bones. I rarely compare games to other games in my reviews, but so many people have been asking me, oh, is that like Too Many Bones? The answer is no. No, it is not. This is definitely its own unique game. I really enjoy this kind of management of these elements as you're trying to power up your abilities. Because again, you only have 5 rounds, and you might only wind up activating once or twice in a round. And so you really have to play it right. You have to find a way to make sure you get what you need to, boom, hit with a big, powerful attack, and you got to do it quick. Because if you don't finish the fight by here, you're counting up who's still stronger, who has more health, and one of you is going to run away, and you might win or lose that way. So it really puts a lot of pressure on the time to get things done quickly and pick the right combination of dice that you're going to roll. I think the variety of the outposts that you can find is really, really good. As I mentioned, you might go to the tavern so you can gamble to try to make some more money, because next time you want to go to the mercantile guild and you want to buy some stuff, but you don't have enough money, so you got to make some money so you can buy some stuff. And I didn't even talk about the gambling. There's 2 different kinds of gambling games that you can do. Maybe you're just going to roll the dice. And in the case of the gambling, you're rolling the Dawnshade dice, and you're trying to get Dawn and Shade. If you get both of those, you win. If you get Dawn, you lose. You get Shade, you also lose. And it's just, boom, up, I lost. Or maybe you're going to do it where you're drawing cards from the character targeting deck, and you're trying to see, do I get a rune, or do I get a tawny there? A tawny is what they call a single coin in the game. And it's just a lot of fun. It's so many options that you have as you're playing through this game. I really do enjoy the combat, and I'm going to talk about the combat again in just a minute, but I think it's just highly, highly strategic, but not in the way that you normally think of, where you're trying to move around the mat and get positioning or anything like that. It's not strategic in that sense. It's strategic in this sense here. What dice do I need to use? What is the best combination? Because very rarely do you have enough agility to roll all of your dice. What's going to serve me best in this situation? How can I use the items that I have to manipulate this initiative stack? Because in a larger game, the stack's pretty big, and again, you might not even be in the stack. It might be all foes, but maybe you have an item that's going to give you a chance to redraw, or maybe it's just one of your heroes going, and then a bunch of enemies. Well, maybe you're going to stock up, and you're going to roll a whole bunch of these defense dice and try to get a reformation because you're going to pull that off, and you're probably going to pull out of the bag another ally chip, which suddenly changes what is going on. It's just very, very fun. So, what are my quibbles with the game? I have 3. Only one of them is a concern for me personally. The other 2 are more warnings, just so you understand what kind of game this is. So the first one is, I wish that this mat here was not cardboard. And you will have the option to upgrade to neoprene, and I think that'll almost be something that's a necessity. And that's because you do so much of this and that, and it's banging on there and dropping on there. And I would be concerned that maybe there's some nicks and dings in there, which on the one hand is fine because it shows that it's loved, you've been playing it, but then again, it might be a bummer. So I might be a little concerned about that. And my other 2, again, are more warnings about what kind of game this is to make sure you know what you're getting into. This game is barely contained chaos. And I say that lovingly and in a good way. But you're doing all of these mini games as you're going. Like I said, you're flicking and you're tossing and you're rolling and you're spinning and all of these wacky, fun things. But it is very random. I'm sure there are people out there that can spin a chip this way and 9 out of 10 times get it to land on the side that they want. That is not most of us. The same thing when you're flipping it and you want it to land on a certain side or trying to get it to land in exactly the right spot or close to something. Or when you're doing this one here and what happens is there are things approaching across the mat and you're trying to flick it and get it to land on there like that, which is the first time I've ever done it like that. And I've done this so many times. So let everyone know that I can, in fact, do it. It's a lot of fun, but it's very, very random. So just know that, and you're going to be doing more of this type of thing than you'll be doing combat. And the other thing is the way initiative happens. Now, for me, I personally enjoy the challenge of having to mitigate the stack here and what you're drawing. But just understand that it is possible to go multiple rounds and not get to act at all as the heroes if your luck is bad and you don't have items or abilities charged up that will allow you to mitigate that. At the same time, you can go multiple rounds and only have your heroes act. So, to me, I love chaos in my games, but it is highly random what you're going to get. And then the strategy becomes how do you mitigate that randomness? And again, that might not be for you. Just something to keep in mind. But that's it, folks. That is my thoughts on Dawnshade. I have to say, I think this game is crazy pants. And I think I love it. It is so unique. It is so very fresh to me that I think if you are okay with chaos in your games, then this is one that you must check out. I think it is just a delight. And at the same time, if you are someone that does not like chance, does not like luck, does not like randomness, then this might not be the game for you. The same thing if you don't like dexterity games at all, because there is a fair amount of it in there. And so there you have it, folks. That is Dawnshade. It is coming to Kickstarter very soon. Around the time this video posts, it will also be launching, so you can check down in the description to get a link to that. And you can also get a link to the How to Play series that I did for Highborn Games for Dawnshade. So there you have it, folks. That is Dawnshade. If I made any mistakes in the just brief description of how the game works. One that's super embarrassing because I did a how to play video. But please let me know in the comments with the timestamp and I'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.